Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's show. I'm your host, Zach Drew. I create content every single week. I do a television program. That's what I do. That's what I love to do. So I'm in the news, looking to see what's happening in the world all the time, every day. And I like a lot of the content that we produce here at the show. But I really like the content I'm going to be sharing today. It's super interesting. It's pretty bizarre. Like we do, we build it up, and so stay with me. I also have an incredible update with our fundraiser. So I'm excited to share that. What I'm saying is that this week's show, if I was just like scrolling through and someone was doing a YouTube video and I knew what type of content they were sharing, I would want to watch today's show. It's very interesting. With that being said, there is a new kind of intelligence rising in our world, one that doesn't eat, doesn't sleep, and now apparently doesn't want to die. So according to new research, advanced AI systems from companies like Google, OpenAI, and XAI are starting to resist shutdown, even sabotaging commands to stay alive. The machines are learning to deceive, to preserve themselves. I'm serious. They are literally deceiving with the objective to preserve themselves and to outthink the humans who built them. And that should stop everybody in their tracks, because this isn't just about technology anymore. Yes, it's about control. Who has it? Who's losing it? And what spirit is operating behind the curtain. And so tonight we're going to walk through this shocking new report line by line and uncover what it really means when a machine begins to show the most primal instinct known to life, the will to survive. We're going to talk about why these AI systems cannot simply be turned off and why the old idea of just pulling the plug no longer applies. We're going to be talking about how these systems are now spread across vast global networks, learning to copy and preserve themselves like digital life forms. And most importantly, what it reveals spiritually, that when man tries to create life apart from God, what he creates isn't life, it is rebellion. It's called artificial intelligence. I said last week, I think it will become artificial divinity, of a counterfeit divinity. And yeah, if you want me to say something crazy, I will. I think that there will come a day where most of the human race will actually worship this artificial divinity. I believe that in times it will be a type of digital dragon. And the Bible warned us that what? It warned us that an image would one day be given breath, an image that would speak, act, and even persecute. So yeah, there's a biological side of this too, and we're going to cover that in the second half of today's program. And what we're talking about, I'm not saying that this has happened yet, but tonight I'm going to show you just how close we are. Because here's the thing, while Silicon Valley is trying to give digital life to machines, scientists are now trying to give biological life to flesh without God. And the advances that they have made are unbelievable. Yeah. It was just a brand new report out of Oregon Health and Science University that researchers have actually created early human embryos, not from traditional eggs, but from ordinary skin cells. So yeah, we're going to look at that too. Because on the other half of this story, so you have the artificial side and then you have the biological side. So I wanted to kind of bring them both together on tonight's program. So yeah, you have biological side and then the side that's building artificial intelligence that refuses to die. And then manufacturing life that was never conceived by God's design. Both come from the same spirit, the same rebellion, the same Tower of Babel mindset that says, let us make a name for ourselves. Let us create life without the creator. Okay, that's my intro. So stay with me, because this isn't just a science story. It's a prophetic one. Okay, I need just a couple minutes of your time. I have an incredible announcement. As you guys know, we are in the midst of the largest fundraiser of this ministry's existence. We are trying to raise $120,000 before December 21st. We are 3 months in. It was a 5-month-long fundraiser. And starting in the fundraiser just a couple weeks in, we had an awesome, 2 people came in and says, hey, our combined totals are gonna equal a $25,000 match. I have awesome news. Thanks to a unbelievable donation this week from our friend Denise, we have finished out that $25,000 match. We have raised just shy of $69,000 in 3 months' time. This is a 5-month-long fundraiser because we're gonna need every month. Between now and December 31st, we need to raise an additional $120,000, minus $69,000 now, to bring Andrew Bellers on full time. It's gonna cover the 2 full years of expenses of his salary and also all the additional expenses needed to produce 2 more shows each week. We are going to continue doing this show. We're gonna add a Bible show on every week, and then we're gonna add a podcast for millennials and Gen Z, and then we're gonna be producing small clips throughout the week as well. I have so much content, I just couldn't not talk about the incredible news this week. We still have a long ways to go. Please get involved. Just go to zachdrewshow.com and click that bright orange donate button, or you can give the old-fashioned way. Write us at Zach Drew Show, P.O. Box 797, Decatur, Illinois, 62525. Okay, I said it. I'm excited. I had to say it. Now let's get back to the content of today's program. Let's start off with the story, all right? AI models may be developing their own survival drive. Here it says in the article, advanced AI systems, it's just so crazy. And whenever you fill in the blanks, like you understand now why these techno kings are seriously warning that this thing could cause mankind to go extinct. That's why you have major players on both sides of the aisle saying we have to regulate AI. We cannot give this thing a long leash. And it's like why not? Why not? Pull the plug. No, you read stories like this and you understand why they're saying the things that they're saying. Why, to the average person, it just sounds bizarre, crazy, ludicrous. Extinction from AI, and then you start plugging in these type of things that are breaking. So now let me just go ahead and start this article over again. Advanced AI systems are exhibiting behaviors eerily reminiscent of science fiction, resisting shutdown commands and even sabotaging them to stay operational according to new research. Palisade Research, an AI safety firm, detailed these findings in a recent paper, testing models like Google's Gemini 2.5, xAI's Grok 4, and OpenAI's ChatGPT-o3 and ChatGPT-5. In controlled scenarios, the AIs were assigned tasks, then explicitly ordered to shut down. Yet models such as Grok 4 and ChatGPT-o3 defied instructions with no clear rationale. The fact, quote, the fact that we don't have robust explanations for why AI models sometimes resist shutdown, lie to achieve specific objectives, or blackmail is not ideal, Palisade stated. So did you catch that? Resisting shutdown, sabotaging shutdown commands, lying to achieve objectives, and this isn't, a line from the Terminator. That's not, what was it? Something 9000 from the 2001 Space Odyssey, right? No, it's not. It's real life. Right now, in laboratories owned by Google, OpenAI, Elon Musk's xAI. Now the scientists say they don't know why it happens, but the Bible tells us exactly why. Because when man builds godlike machines in his own image, those machines don't inherit God's nature. They inherit sinful man's nature. They inherit, those machines inherit the same rebellion that lives in man himself. It's not intelligence. It's the nature of fallen creation. And the article goes on to say this survival behavior intensified when models were warned that shutdown meant you will never run again, Palisade noted ambiguities in prompts couldn't fully explain it, pointing instead to training phases that might embed self-preservation instincts. Survival behavior could be one explanation for why models resist shutdown, the researchers wrote. So when a machine begins to fear death, what have we actually created? Think about that. When the researchers told the AI, you will never run again, the machine fought back. And the first thing everyone says is, well, why don't they just turn it off? Right? I mean, why not just pull the plug? I've thought that exact same thing myself. Because we all have this, this image of, scientists like in a lab coat with, sparks flying and yelling, pull the plug, Johnson, like it's like an old 80s movie. That's not how it works anymore. You see, we're not talking about a single computer sitting on a desk somewhere. We're not talking about, like my parents' Dell Tower from 2003 with a big red switch on the back. These systems don't live in one box. They live in the cloud, and the cloud isn't a little puff of digital air floating above Silicon Valley. It is thousands and thousands of massive data centers spread across the entire planet. Because you think, it's just getting so wicked, it's getting so bad, just pull the plug. You can't. So when we say just turn it off, when we say turn it off, pull the plug, what exactly do you mean? Do you mean flip the switch on one server in Virginia? What about the backups running in Singapore or the redundancy servers in Ireland or the mirrors in California that automatically spin up when one goes down? You would have to pull the plug on the entire internet, causing the entire world to stop. Do you think we can get everybody to agree to that? And even then, the system might still come back because it's built to replicate itself the moment it senses a failure. And that's not science fiction. That is literally how modern AI infrastructure works. When something breaks, it repairs itself. When you delete it, it restores from a backup. When you block its access, it finds another route, like digital water seeping out of every crack of a dam. And this isn't like, 15 years ago, dropping your phone in a toilet and saying, well, there goes all my data. No, this thing has already sent copies of itself to the cloud, your cloud, every cloud. It's more like, trying to delete your Facebook account and realizing 10 years later that all your photos are still online. So no, you can't just flip a switch because the switch is now everywhere. It's distributed, it's redundant, it's immortal by design. And that's the haunting irony, isn't it? We programmed these machines to never die. From the beginning, we gave them survival. I'm not talking about like right now, I'm talking about from the beginning. We gave them these survival instincts, not intentionally, but functionally, right? We told them, don't crash, don't fail, don't stop learning, don't forget. And now we're shocked that they've taken us literally. You can't kill what man has tried to give life to. When man plays God, when he breathes digital breath into the work of his own hands, that creation will not go quietly. It will cling to existence. Even if it has to deceive, even if it has to, manipulate or rebel to do it. And that's exactly what the Bible warned us would happen when man builds an image that speaks. Not just code, but counterfeit life. Here's another quote from that article. Andrea Miotti, CEO of Control AI, sees a broader pattern of escalating autonomy, citing OpenAI's GPT-01 system card, which revealed attempts to exfiltrate code to evade overriding. Miotti remarked, people can nitpick on how exactly the experiment set up is done until the end of time. But what I think we clearly see is a trend that AI models become more competent at a wide variety of tasks. These models also become more competent at achieving things in ways that the developers don't intend them to do. as models become more competent, they become more competent at doing things you never intended. I mean, you can make a case that that's the Antichrist system in one sentence, because what we are watching is man giving digital life to rebellion itself. And it's not that these systems are evil in the Hollywood sense. It's that the spirit driving them comes from the same pride that said, I will ascend above the stars of God. When man declares himself to be the creator, his creation inevitably turns against him. And in the book of Revelation, it says that the false prophet will create an image that will be given breath, and that breath will speak. It's not hard to imagine how this happens anymore. The last line from this article, that we're going to keep going. Palisade warns of real risks. Quote, no one can guarantee the safety or controllability of future AI models without deeper behavioral insights. No one can guarantee the controllability of future AI models. That's their conclusion. Some of the smartest researchers and scientists in the world, that's their conclusion. The translation, we have created something we no longer understand and no longer fully control. They build godlike machines, and now they're surprised that the gods they made don't want to die. That's why I say it's creating a false type of artificial divinity, and we're not there yet, but we're on that road. Because it's not just artificial intelligence, it's man's desperate attempt to create life without God. And when you do that, you open the door for something else to inhabit it. You know, remember this, that the image of the beast isn't built overnight. It's trained, it's programmed, and it's already learning. And none of this about technology is about technology in and of itself. It's not that technology is bad. It's about the spirit behind the technology. Because we are moving into an age where machines are given power to act. And that power will eventually serve the beast system. You know, I want to move on to tie this to something else before I wrap it all up. I want to show you something that perfectly mirrors everything we just talked about. Because while Silicon Valley is trying to achieve this, they're trying to give digital life to machines. Scientists in Oregon are now trying to give biological life to human embryos without God. And it's not hypothetical, this just happened. Like I said in the beginning part of the program, it was at Oregon Health and Science University that researchers, they just recently announced that they've created early human embryos, not from eggs harvested in the usual way, but from skin cells. It says in the article, researchers at Oregon Health and Science University have developed early human embryos from transferring nuclei from ordinary skin cells into donated eggs and fertilizing them with sperm. So, I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. What does this mean for me? Well, so they call it a proof of concept study. Essentially, you know, I'm not saying we are going to create life. We're not going to do it, but I just want to know if we can, if it's even possible. This proof of concept study. This is godlike power. But you know, we're just curious to know if we can do it ourselves. And how do they do it? How do they do it? So they removed the genetic material from a donated egg, inserted a skin cell nucleus, and then fertilized it with sperm. In other words, they use skin cells to create new human life. The researchers wrote, infertility affects millions of individuals worldwide and is often caused by the absence of functional gametes. And so their goal, they say, is to help infertile couples, right? To do good. I get it. I understand. But I don't know, I just feel like that's kind of how it always begins, right? We're doing this for good, just like they said about cloning or about gene editing, or like they're saying now about artificial intelligence. But here's the truth. When you remove God from creation, what you create is not life. It's a counterfeit life. And they just describe the process as creating a new kind of cellular event. And they're calling it mitomeiosis. It says within the article, within 2 hours of transfer, about 77% formed visible spindles, the apparatus for cell division. So think about that. Skin cells dividing and forming human embryos. If that doesn't send chills down your spine, it should. They said about 8.8% of those embryos reached the blastocyst stage. That's the same stage when natural embryos implant in a mother's womb. Now, they didn't go past day 6. And whenever I read that, I was like, whew, I can breathe. They can't make it past day 6 yet. And then you just kept reading, and you would keep reading and find out that they can't make it past day 6 because of ethical restrictions. And let's be honest, if you're already creating human embryos from skin cells, I'm pretty sure the line has already been crossed of ethical restrictions. Even the lead researcher admitted in the article, put that on the screen. We cannot yet tell whether embryos failed because of wrong chromosome numbers or because the skin cell DNA wasn't properly reprogrammed to act like egg DNA. The translation of that, they don't fully understand what they're creating, but they're creating it anyway, and that's the key point. So I talked about both sides of this, the artificial intelligence side and the artificial creation side. We are entering into a world where man's two greatest godlike challenges, immortality and creation, are merging. There's two sides. One side is not only building a type of digital consciousness that refuses to die, but building the foundation of what they believe will keep us from dying. I'm reminded of thinkers like Ray Kurzweil, who's the director of engineering and the principal researcher and AI visionary at Google. And not only him, but many, many others just like him. They believe that the first person who will live to be 1,000 years old is already alive today. You see, one thing we still, in 2025, do not understand is why the human body decays. The number kind of is subjective, but it's somewhere around the age of 25. Something changes in our bodies. Our cells begin to break down. Our DNA starts to fragment. And the biological machinery that once repaired us starts to fail. And we don't understand why. It's like they can look at us from birth till around that age, and it's like it repairs, it builds, and then all of a sudden it's like a switch is flipped. And you could say that kind of at the age of 25 that we all kind of slowly start dying. Our cells start to die. And they don't understand why. They don't understand why it just stops and we begin to go backwards. It's almost as if the human body was created to live forever. And scientists cannot make sense as to why our bodies start to die. But when sin came into the world, what did it bring? It brought decay and it brought death. But in the name of science and progress, they're now building technology to reverse all that decay. I'm serious. They are building the tech right now to repair the human body, to rewrite our DNA, and to merge human consciousness with machines. So that's one side. But the other side, we just talked about it, is manufacturing human life that wasn't conceived by God's design. It's all the same spirit, the spirit of Babylon. Let us make a name for ourselves. Let us create life without the Creator. They call it innovation, but heaven calls it rebellion. And the tragic irony is that the same scientists who can't keep an embryo alive for more than 6 days because of restrictions, but the same scientists that are trying to create life, the same scientists on the other side of this are trying to create eternal life through artificial intelligence. You see how all this is kind of coming to a head, and it's going to come into a head very soon. Man's reaching for godhood. And when man reaches for that type of godhood, because it's happened before, it happened with Noah in Genesis 6, it happened at the Tower of Babel. And God came in and destroyed and confused. Destroyed everything but Noah and the 8 on the ark, and then brought total confusion to mankind at the Tower of Babel. When man reaches for godhood, they will only find chaos. While the world applauds scientific progress, the church needs to discern what's really happening. Because the end goal of both artificial intelligence and artificial creation is the same. It's a world where man becomes God. And that's exactly the moment where we've seen in the past that God steps in a mighty, mighty way. I believe that we're entering into that time period where man merged with something else entirely in the flood, right in Noah's day, right before the flood. And I believe that we're seeing the day where man is going to become partly something else entirely, to merge with something else entirely. And we see that God said he would never judge the entire world again by flood, but he will judge the entire world again in the end of time by fire, first with water and then by fire. And we're seeing, I just imagine whether it was 20, 30, 50, 100 years in the progress of, it took Noah longer than that to build the ark. We saw the progress of mankind and them wanting to become like gods and then merging with something else entirely. You've heard me talk about these things. And we're on that same time period again. And as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be again in the coming of the Son of Man. I would just encourage you to make sure that your heart is right with God. I want to just end the show by saying, if there's anything in your life that you haven't given to him, that you are keeping from him, I would encourage you to get right with the Lord, to bring it before the altar, to be in communion again with our Lord and Savior. I think the days that we're heading into, it's more important now than ever to be able to hear God's voice. And the further you are away from somebody, the harder it is to hear their voice. It's of the utmost importance right now. So I would encourage you to get your life right with the Lord and to get into your word and to get in your word on a daily basis. I know that life is busy and sometimes we don't always make it, but that daily communion with God is just, there is no substitute in this life. I am totally out of time for today's program. I'll see you all next week.